Welcome to my presentation for the Global Law University Project, part of the Global Institute of Law internship. My name is Natalie, and today I will be covering the topic of public international law, the legal criteria of statehood. This presentation is split into 3 sections and a bibliography. First, I will discuss 4 basic criteria which have significantly influenced the recognition of new states over the last century, and briefly cover some of the ways in which new states are formulated. Then I will discuss each of the 4 criteria individually, providing examples of their citation within UN membership applications and the rights and obligations of the United Nations international community. One definition of statehood was introduced at the Montevideo Convention on the Rights and Duties of States in Uruguay in 1933. Although the convention was only attended by the United States and its neighbouring countries, the definition of statehood which these countries agreed upon has shaped global perspectives and discourse on statehood ever since. The UN Charter does not provide a definitive, indisputable, or legally binding definition of what state or statehood are, and the 4 features of state offered by the Montevideo Convention differ dramatically across all UN member states. Additionally, the 4 criteria have historically been exploited by UN member states opposed to admitting new states for their own political gain. In order to be legitimate, new states must receive the recognition of the international community in order to gain their UN membership as an independent state. However, in 1949, the United Nations did provide a list of rights and obligations which its members must respect and uphold in order to become part of the international community. We will look into these rights and obligations later. Although recognition by the international community is important, new states do not require the unanimous agreement of all UN member states to gain overall recognition and UN membership. The Republic of Korea, aka South Korea, and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, aka North Korea, are 2 examples of UN member states which enjoy their respective UN memberships and are recognized by the international community as independent while refusing to recognize each other's independence. The situation between the State of Israel and the State of Palestine is similar, although Palestine is currently a UN observer. I've listed a few of the political maneuvers used to formulate new states and historic examples of current states which were formed through these maneuvers. Now I will provide an in-depth explanation of each of the 4 Montevideo features of state and offer examples of historic international disputes caused by one or more UN member state refusing to recognize another state's legitimacy. Kuwait's application was disputed by the representative of Iraq due to the makeup of its population. Out of a population of roughly 250,000 people, more than 60% occupied the city of Kuwait. The rest were nomadic communities which travel frequently across vast expanses of desert from Iraq to Saudi Arabia. Therefore, the representative of Iraq argued, Kuwait should not be recognized as an independent state, nor admitted as a UN member state, as its population were not permanent occupants. Based on this argument, the Soviet Union vetoed Kuwait's application. However, Kuwait reapplied 2 years later and received unanimous approval, because no guidance relating to the state's legitimacy to the makeup of its population existed. The record for the UN Security Council's 984th meeting, marked in red, is the most notable of the reference documents because it provides a detailed account of the legal criteria which Kuwait was able to satisfy in order to be granted its UN membership. In order to receive international recognition, a state must have a defined territory and identifiable borders. Historically, land disputes with neighbouring states has not denied a state its recognition. However, the state must show that it is fully willing and capable of settling disputes without threatening the international peace and order. Although typically this prerequisite hasn't barred a state from receiving its recognition and UN membership, the state's unwillingness or inability to resolve any land disputes peacefully may hinder the acceptance of their application. When Israel petitioned to be recognized as an independent state and become a UN member state in 1948, representatives from countries surrounding Israel, along with the representative for the United Kingdom, refused to support Israel's petition on the basis of its contested borders. The representative for the USA brought up the debate surrounding Israel's borders as part of its application to become an independent UN member state. He argued that Israel's application should not be rejected purely based on its contested borders, citing America's own recognition of statehood as an example. Government symbolizes an overall unification of one community working under a set of laws and regulations. Without a government with its administrative and legislative organs, the state may be vulnerable to political strife. Additionally, an effective government symbolizes the state's capability for independence and self-determination. These two factors were once used to argue for the continuation of colonial rule. However, some states, such as Burundi and Rwanda, admitted to the UN in 1962, were given UN membership despite facing economic and political disruption due to the withdrawal of Belgium's colonial rule. Since the 1960s, the right to self-determination has been an important factor in the decolonization process and the international community's recognition of decolonized states. It has largely replaced the effectiveness of and ability to self-govern as a factor of recognition, as the right to self-determination, a fundamental freedom, now takes priority. The economic and political relationships countries form with each other uphold many of the rights and freedoms we have as individual humans within this community. Due to the economic and political relationships between countries, humans from every corner of the globe can live, study, and work in almost any country they want. It is an amazing privilege to be able to explore the furthest reaches of our planet through the relationships formed by our global community. However, there is more than one country, predominantly on the African continent and in the Middle East, with very few international trade relations with their global neighbours. For example, over the last 2 decades, African countries have faced trade difficulties due to higher trade taxes. However, this factor has not barred these states from gaining their international recognition of statehood. In addition to being deemed capable of meeting the full criteria agreed to at the Montevideo Convention of 1933, states applying for international recognition must also be fully willing and capable of respecting and adhering to the rights and obligations set out by the United Nations Declaration on Rights and Duties of States in 1949. These articles were designed to clearly and precisely illustrate the United Nations' expectations for all its member states to maintain international peace and order. I'm not going to read all of these rights and duties out, but the Declaration on Rights and Duties of States document can be located in the bibliography at the end of this presentation. I am going to briefly discuss Articles 1 to 3 in relation to the Montevideo features of statehood. The UN may not have provided a definition of state or statehood so not to undermine Articles 1 to 3, giving states the right to operate independently from the intervention or interference of other states. As all member states have their own socio-political and cultural structures, to codify a strict legally binding definition or criteria for statehood may have proven contradictory. The Declaration on Rights and Duties of States offers UN member states a broader range of freedom in determining their own national political identities, while also aiming to protect all manner of cultures, religious beliefs, and social characteristics across the globe. Here is Article 8 to 14. This is the end of my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for joining me to discuss public international law and the legal criteria of statehood.